Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at the tropical update for September 1st. We made it to meteorological fall. And we're still 9 days away from the peak of hurricane season, so, we're not out of the woods yet. Tropical update, as always, brought to you by the good folks over there at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling. We do have some new information to pass along. We've got a couple of different places in the tropics since we're getting toward the peak of hurricane season after all, to keep tabs on. First one's first. This is newly minted tropical storm Omar, moving away from the United States coastline and headed out to sea. It's going to be a short-lived tropical storm. It's actually anticipated to be extratropical by the time we get toward later this week and into the weekend. So good news there. This is going to be a short-lived storm, not really going to bother anybody except for the fishing channels and the shipping channels out there. Wind at 40, gusting to 50, pressure at 1,007 millibars, and down to the south. This one is got itself wrapped. Remember last night at 10 o'clock, I said, I'm really surprised this thing isn't a tropical depression yet, and well, that didn't take long. It's already a tropical storm. Wind at 50, gusting to 65, moving to the west at 18 miles an hour. This is Tropical Storm Nana, headed toward the coast of Belize, and it's going to move its way over Guatemala and into parts of Mexico, and eventually dump itself over into parts of the Pacific. We'll have to see how much it gets wrecked on the way over. It may keep the same name. Unlikely, but it may keep the same name. We'll have to kind of wait and see. There is a thought that this may make a run at becoming a hurricane before making landfall. We'll have to keep tabs on that as well. It is surrounded by just a sea of dry air as well. A high pressure into the Gulf of Mexico, back off to the north, and back off to the east outside of that little mid-level low pressure that's sneaking through. So there's really, at this point, no way for this thing to slide to the north. Like, I know folks along the Gulf Coast are going, all right, Nick, keep it real with us. Is there any chance this thing slides north and gets into the Gulf? Not really. The ridge of high pressure that's out here did get eroded away a little bit by a little area of low pressure in here, but the ridge is still stout and kind of in here, and so you're still getting a pretty decent push on this thing to keep this thing moving to the well, hold on for you guys, to the west. So it's going to continue to slide that direction, and it shouldn't move to the north. There is still an outside chance that it gets into the Bay of Campeche. There's still an outside chance that it slides a little further to the north around the western edge of that ridge of high pressure. But if that were to happen, it wouldn't be over the water. It would be over land through most of that, so we'd be talking about rainfall. Back off to the west, this next wave coming off the coast of Africa. Now, I was talking about yesterday how a lot of the shear out here has just been eating so many of these tropical waves coming off of the coast. We've got a little bit of shearing from the north here, and every wave that's come off so far has just been eaten alive. This one may be a little bit different. I'll explain why here in a couple of seconds. And there's this other wave out here with a 10 to 20% chance as we head through the next 2 to 5 days. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening out here. All right, so we've got one little wave according to the European model here. We've got Nana over here, Omar is up here, and then we've got your other waves kind of back over here. So we've got a lot of moving pieces on here to kind of keep tabs of, or keep tabs on as we head through the next couple of days. All right, so here we go. So we've got the one little wave. This actually isn't being highlighted by the NHC at all. But this moves across the islands. It gets torn up by the islands. We've got Nana, which moves ashore, gets torn up by land. We've got that 10 to 20%er here, and then that 0 to 50%er up here. Omar is dead and gone up here. Actually, kind of moved off to the northeast. So here's where we are Saturday afternoons. This is as we get into and through the weekend. Then as we head through, you see how this gets into a piece of Nana, gets into the Bay of Campeche here, still riding around the ridge of high pressure that's out here. That's shoving everything. So here's our ridge. We're right in here, and everything's going like this around it. You've got your 10 to 20%er back here, and then your 0 to 50%er over here. So still have about 3 moving pieces to keep tabs of. This is as we get into Monday of next week. So you got the rest of this week and through the weekend. And when you check back in on Monday, if you don't follow this every day, which I highly recommend, but if you don't follow this every day, you're going to check back in on Monday, and it's going to look roughly like this if everything shakes out the way that we're thinking. As we get through Tuesday and into Wednesday, you can see that the European is actually picking up on parts of Nana kind of sliding up the coast here. And as something pretty beat up, it's just regular rain from Mexico and into Texas, and it kind of gets caught up and into actually a cold front that's going to be trying to get into the parts of the southeast. We'll talk about that on the regular newscast. That's not for this. And then this wave gets much better organized. At this point, we probably could be talking about a tropical storm by Wednesday, September 9th of next week. Worth noting, and we'll set this thing back into motion again, that there's still a lot of uncertainty about the ridge of high pressure up here and how it's going and how the steering flow is going to work out here. Now there's some indication that this is going to remain reasonably strong and do a good job at continuing to kind of push this toward Florida, the Bahamas. Beyond that point, then we have to watch for the cold front that's coming down and what that may do. Then there's some thought that this ridge is actually going to be set a little further back off to the east and northeast, in which case whatever happens with this would tend to turn like that. So there's still a lot to figure out. I mean, we are looking 8, 9, 10 days out, but there are going to be a lot of moving pieces, and of course with it being September 10th and as you can see here, September 11th, the peak of hurricane season, this is a time of the year where we do anticipate for things to be reasonably active. So we'll keep tabs on things through the weekend and then through next week, but it looks like by the time we get to next week, things are going to be reasonably busy out there in the tropics. So there's a look at your tropical update, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling.